before our Summer Olympics. In Madrid, they started the construction of 2 other skyscrapers, and they would be 150 meter. So then our city council decided that the architects of those 2 constructions over here had to change their plans. Here on our hotel, they constructed a penthouse on top, and on that block with offices over here in front of us, they constructed a helicopter airport on top. And so both of them became 156 meter tall, taller than the 2 new skyscrapers in Madrid. At that time, the tallest constructions all over Spain. At that time, the tallest. Okay, now for sure it's not like that anymore. We have skyscrapers in Valencia or the south from Valencia and Benidorm that are much taller. At our left hand side, the Olympic Harbour. Over here, they organized part of our sailing competition. At our right hand side, maybe just a small glimpse of our beaches, part of our beaches, until Hotel W. It's a pity it's not a perfect day to go to the beach today. And here, over the harbour, until the end of our city, where you can see only new skyscrapers. That's the newest part of our city, under construction since 2004, okay? The Forum, over there, only skyscrapers. A very modern city, much more modern, much newer than this part. But okay. Our Summer Olympics 1992 were perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful for this city. They cleaned up the whole city. We received our beaches back. They left 120,000 trees all over the city. From a grey city, we almost received a green city. Vamos recto, eh? Almost a green city. Sí, sí, marino.
O sea, no la había visto aquella persona, no sé de dónde ha salido.
No pasa nada. And so what happened over here? They organized the Summer Olympics in August 1992. That sports people were living here. And then later on in September 1992, they organized the Paralympics. Paralympics for the people with physical or psychical diseases, okay? Later on in November 1992, they sold all those modern apartments to the locals. Now I can say this is one of the best neighborhoods of our city to live nowadays. Good modern apartments, lots of green areas over here. Basically to walk. This is the main traffic street. Most of the traffic is going under that Olympic village, and very good connected with subways, with railway stations. But yeah, the public transport is almost everything underground in this small city. So still Olympic Village until here. Now we come on the limit, and now we enter immediately in that grid city constructed between 1859 and 1910. But in between, if you take a look just in front of us, over there you can see the main monument of Spain. It's the #1 of Spain. Every year we receive 4.6 million of visitors inside. I tell you exact 4.6 millions, because there are no more visitors allowed inside. And the visitors, they pay the construction. It's quite easy. That's that famous Holy Family Church, Sagrada Familia, the main monument of Spain. Last year 4.6 million of visitors inside, and more or less 13 million of visitors outside, around it, just walking around it. After 136 of works, we finished already a 70%, 70. So now there's still a 30% remaining. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a deadline. We have only 7 years, 6 months, and today we are the 26th, so on 15 days, exactly, okay? 7 years, 6 months and 15 days, everything will be concluded. It should be finished on the 10th of June 2026. And I'm sure about that it will be finished on the 10th of June 2026. We are in Catalonia, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This is the richest part of Spain. I know Catalan people. I am married to a Catalan lady, so I know what I'm talking about. They will conclude that. Why? There's no problem with money, okay? The money enters every day with all our visitors. Every day it's sold out. Maximum there are 15,000 people allowed every day inside. This was the main work from our famous architect, genius Antonio Gaudi. Okay, this was his main work. He was involved over here in this work during 43 years. It wasn't his idea. The idea came from a man named Bocabella, an owner from a religious bookshop beside our old cathedral. The cathedral that we will see later on, okay? We have only one cathedral in the old medieval city. But within 7 years and 6 months and 15 days, it's almost sure that this will become our new cathedral. But it has to be finished. And then it's up to the Pope in Rome to take that decision. We are only allowed to have one bishop seat. And when you have only one bishop seat, you're only allowed to have one cathedral. So this might become our new cathedral, and then the old cathedral that we will see later on will lose its title. That will become then a minor basilica. This is now a minor basilica since the 7th of November 2010, when we received a visit from the Pope Benedict XVI, the one who is retired now. Look at it. What's missing basically? At the moment we have only 8 bell towers, dedicated to 8 apostles. As you might know, Jesus has been working with 12 apostles. So there are 4 bell towers missing in the south. Because now you can see 4 bell towers, one beside each other at the east and another 4 at the west. And now in the middle over here, where we have the main entrance gate, another 4 bell towers. In the center, in the middle, the tallest bell tower all over the world. 172.5 meters. It's very important. I have to speak in meter, because that mountain that you see beside your harbor, the cruise harbor, that green lung beside the old city center, a mountain only there for the leisure time, that mountain is 173 meters tall. 173. But that mountain was created by our Father God. And so it was a decision from Antonio Gaudi to construct, to build the tallest church all over the world.
Yes.
But you may never separate the work done by our Father God created that mountain. So because of that, half a meter less. 172.5 meters, that means 550, almost 560 feet. Okay, almost 560 feet. If you come back so in 8 years, then you have to go to our church to do a little prayer over there, because your prayer will arrive as the first one by our Father God, so that He can send immediately His blessing back to you.
Can we have some air conditioning, please?
Yeah, okay. It's too hot or too warm? Too hot? Sergio,
Dime.
la gente pasa en calor.
Pasan calor.
Pasa en calor, así que el aire acondicionado.
Vale.
Freezing. Ok. Vamos a poner el aire acondicionado. Air conditioning will be put on now immediately.
But there's the...
Yeah, for sure. We're almost in winter time. We are freezing. Huh? Look over here, this wonderful Arch of Triumph. Huh? Beautiful. This Arch of Triumph, just constructed as the main entrance gate to visit this first Spanish Universal Exhibition. It was paid by France. Huh? It's in fact just a copy from the Arch of Triumph in Paris. Huh? It was paid by France. It was their pavilion, as we could say, but it was constructed as the main entrance gate. And then along this beautiful boulevard, you could enter in that first green park of our city. Still the most popular park of Barcelona. And okay, over here we are in that grid city. A city constructed like New York, in fact. 1830. In our old medieval city, surrounded by two walls, the medieval wall and the military wall. Over there we had already more than 300,000 people living. Much too much people in this very small city. Outside the city, outside the walls, everything was under control from the soldiers from Madrid. And there were no constructions allowed. So it was not healthy to live in that medieval city. Too much people in a very small neighborhood. Lots of problems with the hygienical conditions. Although that the city council asked permission for the construction of a new city, we were not allowed, okay? From Madrid. All the decisions were taken in Madrid at that time. 1854, more than 5,000 people died this summertime due to a cholera epidemic that had to do with that hygienical conditions. Then we received the permission to start to demolish this wall, but we still had to wait until 1859 before we received the permission for the construction of a new city. The design for this new city was made, or was done, by a Catalan civil engineer. His name was Cerdà, and he wanted an open city, a city with much better hygienical conditions. So he found his inspiration in New York, and so this new design was based on the design from New York. Most of the streets very wide and in just one direction, and most of the plots of houses cut off on every corner. So chamfered corners. Better for the light going through the streets, better for the wind going through the streets, better for the view of the traffic, okay? And in this grid city, we have 554 different plots of houses. And more or less 440 plots, all exactly the same. That means if you watch them like a quarter, then you can see 133.5 meter on 133.5 meter. The Holy Family Church occupies one of their plots, just like a quarter. So a surface from 17,928 square meter. But as I told you, most of the plots with chamfered corners. So if you watch them from one corner to another corner, then we have again that magic number 111. 111 meter. On 111 meter. That makes 6 times 1. 6 per 111 brings us on another magic number. 666. The number of the devil. Be aware in this city, yeah? It's dangerous. The small little square over here is dedicated to Urquinaona, the square named Urquinaona. It was the name of the bishop who laid the first stone of our Holy Family Church on the 19th of March 1882. And at your right hand side, the first skyscraper in our city. Horrible construction. I'm sorry to tell it like that. But it was constructed during the dictator from Franco, and at that time all the decisions were taken in Madrid again. And our front of us, the Catalonian Square. And this Catalonian Square is in fact the connection between the old medieval city and that new grid city at our right hand side. Look over here, Catalonian Square. Later on, we stop here and we start with our walking tour in the middle of the first shopping street at our left, further away. Over there you enter in the medieval city. Here at our right we enter in that grid city. The name of this city is Eixample. Eixample is a Catalan word. Eixample, literal translation, the extension or the enlargement. And now we are heading to the most expensive street in our city. This is here in front of us, the main street in this great city. The name of this street, Paseo de Gracia. Paseo de Gracia. Okay, we know it already. Our old city, too much people living in a very small area. Once they started the construction of this new city, then the richest citizens of Barcelona, they wanted new palaces over here. The richest citizens were basically the noble families and the businessmen. Lots of business people over here were people who made Catalans, that made a fortune in the former colonies from Spain. The Catalans were basically in Cuba, Puerto Rico, Florida, and Chile, Argentina. Some of them were lucky, they made a big fortune trading with slaves, with sugar, with rum and cotton. They brought it over here, their products, and so the first factories over here. Around that first factories, there started to flourish a new business. The people were lucky, making big money. They wanted new palaces basically in these streets. We just passed the stock market from Barcelona at our left behind us. Later on, I will show you again. So it's over there where they're playing with the money of the Spanish people. And now, please take a look at our left in front of us. This next plot of houses over here. Chamfered corners. Look at that first construction here at our left. With this rose-colored columns. The wonderful, beautiful decoration of the whole facade. Flowers, forged iron, wonderful ceramics with glass. Look at that cupola up on top. That was a work done by our famous architect, Luis Domènech y Montaner. He has two works in our city that are World Heritage Sites. The Palace of Music and the Hospital of St. Paul. By the change of the modern hospitals all over Europe. It's now a World Heritage Site. It was all constructed in Catalan Art Nouveau. These are perfect examples from Catalan Art Nouveau. On this plot of houses, some of the best architects from the Catalan Art Nouveau organized a competition between 1900 and 1905. Who was able for the construction of the best house? Y podemos parar mejor. Gracias. Muy bien. Take a look at your left here, the one with the red of the yellow colored ribbon. Pucci colorful. And now the last one, look at this one. That last one over here at your left hand side is the Casa Batlló, World Heritage Site of the UNESCO since 2005. Antonio Gaudí was occupied over here for a refurbishment. A refurbishment. There was existing already a house, a construction that dates from 1867. A rich businessman, Mr. Batlló, bought this house, this old house, in 1903. And he ordered Antonio Gaudí the construction of a new house, so to demolish the old one. Antonio Gaudí came for an inspection. And after his inspection said, no, there's no need to demolish that house. It's a perfect structure. I just will start with the refurbishment. And Antonio Gaudí found his inspiration in Saint John, who killed the dragon. Look on the first floor, second floor, that small little pillars represents bones out of a human skeleton. Look at the balconies, the balconies in white colored forged iron, they represent skulls. The dragon arrives over here, ate too many human beings. And then he climbed up on the roof and he fell asleep. And who arrived? Our patron saint, Saint George. His job, killing dragons. And so he came over here and with his four winged lance, that cross on top of it, he killed that dragon. Okay, that's that wonderful history. At that time, 1905, when this house was finished, the locals were really impressed from Casabatllón. And the city council gave it the first award of the city council as the best construction in the city. So the locals were really impressed from that. At that time, we had a pretty young, rich, very rich widow. She was only 24 years old. Before, she was married to a Catalan Indian, old men who came back with their fortune, and once they came back here in their city in Barcelona, they used to put all that fortune in the first factories of Spain. But they used to marry also pretty young ladies. And because of that, we had lots of pretty young widows. That old men, they died immediately. And they received all the money. She was an example. Her name, Rose, Rosa in Catalan. Rosa, Rose. As most of the rich people at that time, if they made holidays in France. Everybody had to go to France. Basically to Paris or to Vichy. This young lady, Rose, she went to Vichy. And in Vichy, she met a young, handsome Catalan guy. The one who just finished the construction of the biggest bullfight ring all over Spain. In our city in Barcelona, he was also a Catalan one. His name was Peter Milà. Peter Milà met this young lady and he fell in love with her, or with her money, I don't know. And Peter wasn't stupid. He said, Rosa, would you like to marry me? But Rose, she wasn't stupid at all. No. Rosa said, Peter, if you want to marry me, one condition, please. If you want to marry me, I want to live in the biggest house of our city. And for sure, I would like to live in the Paseo de Gracia, the most important avenue.